All right, so now we're going to tackle solving radical equations. Radical just means that we have one of these square root symbols, one of these root symbols. It could be square root, it could be cube root. Today we're only going to deal with square root, okay? And so this just says x is equal to the square root of 8 minus x. Now, to cancel a radical symbol, so what we want to do is we want to solve for x. And you might say, look, we've solved for x. X is equal to this thing. Yeah, but there's also an x over here. We have to set this x free from under the radical. And so in order to set it free, what we have to do is we have to square the radical. Okay, so if we multiply this by itself, the square root of 8 minus x times the square root of 8 minus x equals 8 minus x. We've seen this already when we did complex numbers, when we did the square root of negative 1 times the square root of negative 1, I times I, or I squared, just equaled negative 1. When you multiply something that has a radical, when you square it, the answer is just whatever is under the radical. And so that's what we do in math, is if we want to get rid of a radical, we square it. Well, if we square the right side, we have to square the left side. And so what we wind up with here is x squared is equal to whatever's under the radical, 8 minus x. This is now a quadratic equation. Okay, we've got an equal side and we've got x squared. So we're going to move everything to one side. We're going to add x here. We're going to add x. We're going to subtract 8. And then we're going to subtract 8 here. And this is going to cancel. So we're going to have equals 0. We have x squared plus x minus 8. And this is a pretty simple one. We're going to use the quadratic formula. This is really easy. A is equal to 1. B is also equal to 1. See? And C is negative 8. All right, so we're going to do the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative B, and B is 1. So we're going to put negative and then 1 in the parentheses, plus or minus the square root of B, 1, squared, minus 4 times A, which is 1, times C, which is negative 8. Negative 8, okay? All over 2A, 2 times 1. We're going to clean this up a little bit. Let's move over here. X is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared is 1. And then negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And negative 4 times negative 8 is 32. So we're going to put plus 32. All over 2 times 1 is 2. And so what we wind up with is x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 33. That's a 3. All over 2. Now here's what's interesting though. When doing, we have to modify this. There's not two answers. There's only one answer, okay? And there's a very good reason for that, which I can talk about at another time. But here's what we're going to do. When we're solving radicals here, we're going to ignore the minus. So even though we have two answers here, we're actually going to get rid of the minus. And so we're going to say that our answer is just negative 1 plus the square root of 33. That's going to be our final answer. And if we were to identify this with a calculator, if we were to turn it into a decimal, so x is equal to negative 1 plus the square root of 33 over 2, okay? And as a decimal, we do negative 1 plus the square root of 33 over 2 winds up being about 2.3723. Okay? And so that is our final answer. And let's try another example.